Hi there and welcome to a new lesson, okay, in which we're going to be discussing variables, okay? So this is a super important topic that we must understand. So first of all, what I recommend you do is that in the folder that we have created, you save the different Python files for each different course section, okay? If we are talking only about variables, about functions, just create different Python files for each of them. So in this case, what I'm gonna do is create just a new file, which I'm just gonna be calling variables, and remember the extension .py. Okay, this is a must. Okay, and with this, it's gonna be completely fine. So first of all, let's understand the basics. What is a variable? So a variable is basically a box, okay, in which you store data / information, okay? It's basically it. The actual name that I like to give variables is basically that they are values, okay? So at least for me, this is the easiest explanation. So variables are values, like in maths, okay? In maths, okay, in school, we used to have, x equals something, okay? So in programming is very similar. So let's say that, for example, we have this super simple math equation, okay? So if we have 2 plus 2 is equals to an x. So how much is x? So it's pretty simple. In this case, x is gonna be equal to 4. So 4 is equal to x, or x is equal to 4. The exact same thing, okay? So in programming is the exact same thing. So this is information that we have stored. This is data, a value, however you want to call it. It's the exact same thing. Now, an amazing way of understanding this is in video games, okay? So once again, we're not going to be creating video games, unfortunately, but it's the easiest way to understand this. So for example, if you are creating a video game, okay, a variable, okay, could be, let's say, for example, the health, the player health. For instance, it could also be the enemy damage, okay? For example, it could also be the player score. That could be another example. So these are all, once again, values, data, information about it, okay? This is how variables are then actually used in, for example, game development, but it's just for you to understand the concept. And also, what is the key thing here about variables is that as it follows its name, its value can vary. So, for example, once again, coming back to a game, if the player health, okay, initially, maybe the player health is 100, okay? Because it has all the health. The game has just started. But let's say that it was damaged, okay? It was damaged, okay? So, if it had been damaged, player health will not anymore be equal to 100. In reality, okay, it's gonna be equal to, I don't know, let's say that the enemy damage was 10, so it was gonna be equal to 90. As you can see, it's the exact same thing that would happen here to this x variable. We could decrease it by 3 to whatever we want. So it's exact same concept. And how exactly do you create variables in Python? So it's pretty easy. So you firstly write the variable name. So for example, let's give it once again score, okay? And then you write equals and the value. So once again, let's say, okay, a score of 10. Let's do another example. Let's do health, okay, of the player, or actually let's do it more complete. No, just health by now, 100, okay? As simple as that. Note here how I'm putting this in different lines. Here we must put in different lines. If we want to put them in the exact same line, as you can see, we are receiving an error. As you can see, statements must be separated by new lines or semicolons. So in reality, you could write this like this, for example, but it's not pretty clear. It's not something that is really used in Python, this semicolon at the end of each line. You can do it if for you it looks better. So in reality, yes, you can put different statements in the exact same line. So I can put here, I know, let's do another example, enemy damage, I know, equal to 5. I can write all these and literally write super complex programs in just one line. The thing is that then we have to have like a lot of lines, sorry, a lot of information in just one line, so it's not pretty good, okay, or pretty organized. So I'm just gonna keep the first variable over here, then health over here, and damage over here, okay? Now, as you can see right now, we have only been working with variables with just one word in the name. So once again, remember the structure for naming a variable name equals variable value. How we can write this over here, I'm gonna actually insert here a new line, and I'm gonna use a hashtag. This is gonna insert a comment. So it's something that is not gonna be read by the program. It's just exactly that, a comment. So I can write whatever I want here, and it's not gonna crash the program or anything like that. So what I can put here is that, okay, the structure is variable name equals variable value, just for you to understand this. Now, another thing that you may be thinking about is, okay, how do I call variables that have 2, 3, 4, 5 words? So for example, if we have player health, how do I call it? Do I call it like as if I was writing in paper or in Microsoft Word, player health like this? No. How you separate them is by an underscore, okay? Exactly like this. So this is basically called a naming convention. And it's basically that Python won't have any problem if you call your variable, instead of player health like this, if you call it player health like this, for example, or if you call it, I don't know, like this, okay, whatever it is, it's not really gonna care about it, okay? Unless, for example, there is some special symbol. For example, if you try to put here a comma, okay, well, actually the comma would be another thing. If you put a dot over there, or I don't know, a semicolon, or those things, you won't be able to do that. You cannot put spaces in a variable name also. But it's basically that, a naming convention. So it's not something that you have to really follow if you don't want to, but it's highly recommended since it's exactly that, a convention, something used by thousands of developers, by the community itself. And the cool thing is that then you can print these variables. So let's say that we want to add here a new print. In this case, we don't want to use quotes, because what quotes print or allow you to do is to actually write a message. But we don't want to write a message, we want to write a variable. So in those cases, we don't use a quote and we directly put the variable name. So in this case, for example, damage, okay? Or it's actually print like a message, not just a text. So let's actually create a brand new variable, for example, and sorry, this shouldn't be here. This is for in the next lesson. So for example, I don't know, message, and let's make it equal to, once again, hello world. And now let's just print it over here. So message, okay? Let's run this program. And here we see it, hello world, okay? So this is all for this lesson, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Hi there, and in this lesson, we're gonna be talking about variable types, okay? Or data types, actually. So we have previously discussed that variables are basically data, information, or values, okay? I really personally like the word values because I think that is the best description. So this description is perfect, but what we are yet not discussing are the variable types. So right here, we are discussing mostly all integers, like health is basically an integer. Let me actually change this color to something else. Something like this. So score is actually also just an integer, and damage can also be just an integer. But what happens if then we have other types of variables? So let's say that we have, let me put this in red. We have an is game over variable. So this is game over variable will just be true or false. If the game is over, true. If it's not game over, false. So that's other data type, okay? So a true or false value. What else? Actually, in reality, the player health may not be an integer. It would be a float, because player health, it may have 72.5 of health, for example. So it could be a float or an int, depending on the context. We can also have a certain message, okay? So as we have used before, the hello world, which is another data type. So here we have our program. And the good thing is that Python automatically allows you to write variables without telling it what type it is, because Python is just going to infer it. So Python knows that, okay, this 10 is an integer, this 100 is an integer, this is a string. So Python automatically knows that information and is basically using it in the background. But this topic is related to another one, which is static typing, because what you can actually use is static typing here. So what you can say here is message colon space. Usually this is the usual way of writing it. Once again, a convention. If you don't want it to write like this, you can write it like this. Okay, but it's not pretty common to say like this. And this would be an str, basically a string. Once again, the usual thing would be to do it like this. Okay. And these ones would be integers. So int in this case they are called, okay? Other people, what they like to do is put also a space over here, but I don't personally like it, and I find that most people just write it like this. So this is one way of declaring variables with static typing, okay? And now this formula would be variable name, colon, space, variable type, and then variable value. And well, the other way was very similar, okay, but it was just without this static typing. Okay, and this one does not follow this structure. It is just variable name equals variable value, so way simpler. Now the question would be, okay, should I use static typing? Should I use shouldn't I use it? Should I? So it's optional. That's the first thing I have to know. So you can see the code here compiles perfectly fine, so this has no problem at all. But then in reality, this has a lot of advantages. Right now we are not really, at least on this stage of the course, we are not really be taking advantage of the good things that static typing provide. But just for you to know something, if you are not using static typing, you can change the type. So here, for example, score was initially 10, and then you can say score is equal to hello. And so you can see Python's gonna be completely well with that. Firstly, we created a variable score with a value of 10, and then we modify its value to be hello. Let's actually do it with a print. So let me actually just delete all this, and let's do this that I want to tell you. So let's say that first I have a score of 10. Okay, and I'm gonna print this score. But then let's say that I change this score to be hello world, for instance. And then I'm gonna print this score again. And once again, let's just run this code. And it's completely fine. So first this score was an int, and then it was a string. Usually in programming, this is something that never happens, okay? So just to make sure that this is consistent, and it also, as in the previous example, I'm using just Control Z to undo changes. And as we have also seen over here, you may end up having a lot of variables. So something pretty interesting is that if you use static typing, it's also easier to organize them, okay? Or when you take a look at them, they just look better. But besides that, what I wanted to show you, let me just go over here. If I say, okay, score, it's gonna be an integer. Okay, so here I've got it. So once again, in this case, Python does allow it to be run. It still works. But in most other programming languages, or no, not in most programming languages, but in other programming languages, you can do this. If you use static typing and you are declaring variable as int, you then can change the data type to be a string. Once again, these are just general programming fundamentals that are good to have and good to understand. So just for us to make sure that we have understood this, let's create a couple variables. So let's create, for example, a player speed, and let's make the speed equal to 20.5, for example. So this is a float, so I'm using a comment there with the hashtag. Then let's create a boolean, so the same one that I told you is game over, and let's make this false. Okay, so this is a bool, and in reality here the bool values, basically false and true, are in with the first letter in capital, okay, in capital letters. We may have also an integer. So for example, once again, score is the easiest thing. So this is an int. We may also have a string, as we used to have, message hello world. So this is a string, and once again I'm just gonna copy and paste all this and do the exact same thing but with static typing. So make sure that they are understanding here these things. So once again, whether you should use it or not really depends on what you like, what you don't like. To be honest, static typing in Python specific is pretty like maybe not super useful, because you can it doesn't really provide you a lot of advantages if we compare it to other programming languages. I mean practical advantages, because in here if we have this string, as you can see, which is message, I have actually assigned an integer and Python has no problem. So it doesn't encapsulate the variable to be specifically of that type. It is just something for you to read it and to organize your code better, okay? Because at least from my point of view, this looks way better than this, okay? This one is like very more descriptive, but once again, that is just a personal preference. But just for you to know that Python won't really care about static typing, but I thought that it was still worth including in the curriculum, since it's something that really allows you to flex a little bit your programming muscles. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Hi there, and welcome to a new lesson in which we're gonna be talking about how to save input into a variable. Okay, so this is super interesting because we can actually do pretty interesting things. So right now what we are doing is, okay, we assign a value to this that we ourselves are defining. But what we can do, for example, is that let me delete all this. I've just had this pop up. I will just clean it. And I'm gonna create a new variable. Okay. And by the way, I'm selecting everything with Control A. With this, you select everything, and then you can just press backspace, and it's gonna delete everything. So coming back to this, let's create a variable called username, for example, and let's make it equal to input. Okay, then parentheses, quote, okay, and here we're gonna be putting, okay, enter your name, okay, colon, and I will also leave a space, okay. And then what I will do is that I will print username, okay. So when we run this, first of all, here, okay, we're gonna be entering the name. But as you can see, we cannot edit in read-only editor. So what we have to do is to close this, go to settings. And here we will have to look for code runner, which is the extension that we had installed. And we have to scroll down a little bit, okay, until we find this option, run in terminal, okay. And let's also just enable another one, which is save all files before run, okay? Just so that we make sure that all our files are being saved. Let's pause this execution and let's run it again. So now we have this in the terminal and we can enter our information. So enter your name. For example, my name is Marco. And when I press enter, I've got the print, Marco. But what if we also want to add, or I don't know, your name is Marco. So what we have to use is concatenation. So concatenation is basically joining strings. So this is super simple to do. You just add here quotes, okay? And we just write, okay, for example, your name is colon. Once then I will just leave an empty space. Why are we leaving an empty space here, by the way? Because it may seem a little bit ambiguous. Because we don't want to write your name is Marco. We want to write it, your name is Marco, for example, or your own name, whatever it is. We actually want to leave this space, okay, this space over here, sorry, over here, okay? So that's why I'm putting it like this. So your name is username, and we have to put a plus here. This is gonna join those, all that information. So once again, let's run this code. Here we have it, so enter your name. Once again, let's click over here and let's put Marco. And there you got it. Your name is Marco. Okay, let's go a step forward, okay? And let's say, for example, a username. Let's call another one, I don't know, user country input. And once again, enter your country, colon, space. And let's request another data user color, for example, input, enter your favorite color. Okay. And then let's print all this information. So print, and let's try to concatenate all this information. So first of all, your name is colon space plus username. So your name is Marco. Okay. Let's put another plus, quotes. Let's put a comma and then a space. Or actually just stop there. You are from and the country. And let's do, oops. Let's do the same thing. Your favorite color is, and the favorite color, user color. Sorry, not country, user color. Okay. So now let's actually run this. So over here, run code, enter your name. So once again, we have to make sure that we click over here, because if not, we're gonna be modifying the information of in the code. So enter your name, Marco. Enter your country, Argentina in my case. Argentina, perfect. Enter your favorite color, let's say blue. Your name is Marco, you are from Argentina, your favorite color is blue. Here there is an extra space, so we can actually check it out. It's this one. We can run it again. Enter your name, Marco. Enter your country, Argentina. Enter your favorite color, blue. And here we should have it. Your name is Marco, you are from Argentina, your favorite color is blue. So of course this is all the information that we had provided over there. Now what if you don't like this all in the exact same line? What you can do is, for example, we can go over here, press enter, and over here press enter, and now it looks a little bit more organized. So that is pretty good. Now another thing that I want to mention is the fact that you may have seen that while I'm writing, okay, I have a highlight over there, or an underline actually. So if I write, for example, enter with double R, sorry, which does not exist, I have this, like this autocorrector that you may have in Word, for example, or in Google Docs. And if I press Control period, okay, I have this quick fix to write enter. So this is actually, once again, another extension that VS Code has, which is called a spell checker or something similar to that. Yes, here, sorry, code spell checker. So once again, you just basically press install. As you can see, you can click on the light bulb in the left hand margin, or you can press Control period, or the Mac symbol and the dot, okay, or Command plus period on Mac. So once again, let's do it with the light bubble. So here we have it, and enter. But once again, Control period is way faster. So this extension will basically allow you not to commit any mistake over here, because sometimes when you are writing all this, maybe once again, we are not machines, so we can commit mistakes. I don't know, maybe you write enter, I don't know, your country. Well, actually, maybe this is identified, but if we write it, you know, like this, okay, it's gonna be identified. And with the cursor over here, we can press Control period, and here select the corresponding option. Well, here it wasn't able to understand it, but well, anyway, here we can do it. As you can see, I have the cursor over here. I'm moving with the arrows of the keyword, Control period. And here with the arrows, I can select whatever option I want. And when I find the option I want, I press enter. Okay. And there it is.